All right, we are on page 93 in your journal. So we're going to talk about graphing and the coordinate plane. So this is called a coordinate plane, or it can also be called a coordinate graph. So the two number lines, this is a number line. Okay, here's 0. So you would start at 1, 2, 3, 4, and go positively to the right like we always have. And you would say -1, -2, -3, and so forth, going to the left, just like we've always done on that number line. Then they took this number line and they stood it up, kind of like a thermometer. Here is your 0, and it's always positive going up, okay, and negative going down. So even if you can't see the negative signs because of the lines, okay, on some labels, it's still, you still know that it's negative going down. So this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. All right, so you have two number lines, and singular is called an axis, but plural is called axes. So the point of the intersection, where it intersects right here, where it's 0, 0, okay, that's the coordinate pair. That's called the origin. Okay, so you always start at the origin when you're trying to put a coordinate on a graph or a plane. The two axes divide the four quadrants. So instead of sections, we call these four quadrants. All right, so since this is what you started with in 5th grade, you start with all positive numbers. They named this one quadrant 1, and this is quadrant 2. And they kind of do it, I always think coordinate plane starts with a C. So they go kind of in a C order. So they start here with the positives and they say quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. All right, so then you have a coordinate. A coordinate is also called a coordinate pair because it's a pair of numbers. It's two numbers. Notice that they have parentheses around them and they have a comma in between. That's how you know it's a coordinate. So every coordinate that you're going to see that they want you to graph is going to have parentheses and a comma. So here they want us to graph these points. So when you are going, I know Miss Sanders last year told you that you run before you jump. Okay, it's the same premise. You still do X, okay, you still move on the X, right or left. So you're going to move right or left first, okay. This tells you how to move right or left first. You move right if it's positive, left if it's negative. This second number tells you how to move up or down. Okay, if you move up if it's positive or down if it's negative. So on this, so this is 0. So we have positive 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, -2, -3, -4. Notice I'm putting my numbers right on the lines. Okay, these are called grid lines. Then if we go on the y-axis, that's positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, positive 4. Then we have below 0 is -1, -2, -3, and -4. So if we're going to graph 4, 3, those are both positive. So we're going to move left or right first, then up and down. So we're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to put an A. We always try to label it with something. B, -2. So this tells me how to move on left or right. So I'm going to move 2 to the left. Positive 5 tells me to move 5 up. So that's B. -1 or -3. So -1, -3. That's C. And then we have 5 to the right and -2. So there's D. Okay. If I were to have like a 0, 4, and this was going to be E, I would move none left and right. And then I would move 4 up. So that would be my E right here. Okay. All right, so on the scale of an axis, okay, on your homework you're going to have different scales. So this one, you would think counts by 10, but there's a grid line in between the 0 and the 10. So since there's two sections, you have 10 divided into two sections. So each grid line is represented by 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, and so forth. So the scale is 5. So the scale of an axis is the number of units that each grid line represents. So every line, not necessarily how they're labeled. I can label every 50 if I want. but what each grid line represents if you were to count and touch every single line. That's the scale. So on these, we're going to identify the points. Okay, here's our 0. So we have parentheses and commas. That's what shows a coordinate. All right. So B. So we say -1, -2, -3, and up +1. L is 1, 2, 3 in the positive direction. And you can even draw lines if you want. It does not matter. And then 1, 2, 3. U is -1, -1. And E is 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3. So if you look on the back, which ordered pair does not appear to be represented by one of these points? So mine's really light, so it's hard to see. But this is 1 and 2 and 3, okay? Because it's not labeled, we assume that it's 1. So my suggestion is to graph all of these points. All right, so we have 3/4, so we're not going to go quite to 1. And then we're going to go down -3. 1, 2, 3. So that right there would be answer choice A. So that's on there. We want one that does not appear. -1 and then -1/2. So I'm not going to quite go to -1 right here. I'm going to go to -1/2. So there's B. That's on there. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So this actually is 2, 2, just written in a weird way. So 2, 2. So that's answer choice C. And then answer choice D is -2, -3.5. So we go -2, down 1, 2, -3, -3.5 would be right there. So that's D. Number 2, if I graph each one of these, okay, I want one that's 3 units to the left and 4 units below. So 3 units to the left, that'd be -3. 4 units below, that would be -4. So it's going to be